And finally, we have our Get Good Scrub podcast reactions to Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Now, this is why we've had this up here.
Yo, man, this game was awesome. Like, I was looking forward to it. I know you had some of your own expectations for this game, but
I'll admit it. I've got to take the L. I flat out was not only not looking forward to it, I was convinced that this would be an absolutely shitty game.
But I think, like, Marvel's Avengers did not help with this.
Oh, not at all.
Like, that was a disastrous launch and just a horrible game. Yeah, it's just
I've gone back to it twice because we recorded some impressions of Guardians about a week and a half ago, but my footage was kind of messed up, so I wanted to go back and get some more footage. Found out my Avengers footage that I got from playing it on Game Pass was also kind of messed up, so I went back and played that, and honestly, I don't enjoy any time that I spend playing Marvel's Avengers at all.
I don't think anyone does.
It's one of the, well, I mean, at the very least, Lethal Lightning and Eric July do. Like, they're the only two people I know that like the game. I think they understand that it has issues, but they think it's fun to play. I don't get the fun to play part. I think it's flat out bad. And I even tried to fire up that Black Panther DLC again just to be like, okay, maybe I should actually get through like a mission of this to see if like the story picks up. Like maybe unlock some abilities and it gets more fun to play as Black Panther. Nope, I couldn't do it. I couldn't even get through the first mission. I'm just like, man, this, like, I just hate playing this so much. Like, it's just everything about it. It's like there's all this weird screen shake happening all the time. It's really blurry, even with the motion blur off, playing in 4K. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Well,
man.
let's talk about something good, and that's Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, developed by Eidos Montreal, which obviously I'm from Montreal, or I live in Montreal, so definitely holds a special place in my heart. But this game, beyond everything, is just a masterpiece to watch go by on your screen. Like, it is visually amazing. The colors, the textures, the attention to detail, and the ability to ramp up all the graphics on your PC to like ultra settings was just unreal. And we've talked about it earlier, but the soundtrack does coincide with the graphics like phenomenally well. What do you play it on? What's your what graphic card do you have?
I was playing it in my bedroom, so that was on a RTX 3080.
All right, and I have a 2080 Ti, and it still looked amazing.
Mm-hmm. And it's got really solid support for both multiple levels of ray tracing and DLSS. So I was primarily playing through it with the balanced DLSS and ray tracing on the highest setting. And it was only towards the end of the game that there were some really intense things going on that I was getting some frame stuttering. But then switching the DLSS mode to performance totally fixed it. And I was getting a locked 60 at all times. And it is no joke to say, it's no over exaggeration to say that it's probably the best looking video game I've ever seen from a technical standpoint.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you can make some artistic arguments for like, I don't know, like Jet Set Radio if you want. It's like, oh yeah, you don't necessarily need horsepower to be beautiful. And it's like, I agree. Or like Ori and the Blind Forest or Will of the Wisps. Beautiful games. Even honestly, Metroid Dread looks amazing for all it's worth. But Guardians, from a technical standpoint of just like what is actually happening on this screen, doesn't seem like it should be possible on this generation of PC hardware. Never mind this generation of console hardware. Granted, I haven't played the console version, so I don't know how those play, but Digital Foundry, I'm sure, will do something on them. And if they can squeeze this much out of a PC, then they'll probably at least look serviceable on consoles.
Now, onto the gameplay. There's not much here in terms of, like...
depth?
Depth, exactly. Like, you just have your set skills, you unlock a few for every character. You play through the battle. Honestly, I know you played on normal. I played on hard. Pretty much the only difference is you do less damage on hard, and they take more. They just become bullet sponges on hard.
Yeah, and
But it's not
they're
like they
pretty
have-
bullet spongy on normal too, to be honest.
There was definitely no difference in like what the enemies can do, any variations of enemies, nothing to decipher from normal or hard besides the bullet sponginess of it. But it's fun enough to play. Like it never gets monotonous. I feel like the progression of the gameplay and the progression of your skills and your upgrades happen frequently enough that it keeps it new and
fresh.
Thank you.
And it's always satisfying to even just watch what's going on during the battles. Like it's kind of goes back to the audio visual experience of playing the game is really impressive during the combat, because you feel like you can do some really crazy stuff moving around as Star-Lord. You've got like a boost that you can use in the air or on the ground, and you've got a double jump, and I played it with a controller, which I know, the PC Master Race guy playing with a controller. It's again also why I played it in my bedroom, because it's hard to play mouse and keyboard with it on your stomach. But it's got like lock targeting, so you just kind of hold the left trigger to lock on to whatever enemy's closest to you, then just hold down the fire button until your guns overheat, time an active reload, and keep doing that while circle strafing and jumping around and doing all sorts of stuff like that, while waiting out your cooldown timers on the Guardians, at which point you press the left bumper button and then one face button for each Guardian, and you just give them commands, and that's really how you do the most damage, which is calling in your teammates.
Something I like. It was a good mix of Final Fantasy 15 and
Mass Effect.
Mass Effect, yeah. Except Mass Effect, I felt like you had more control of where your character, you could send your partners or your team to more specific places. You can't do that. Like if you're not calling their
Mass Effect is a cover shooter, though, and that's kind of the difference. Because in Guardians of the Galaxy, you're running and gunning constantly. You can't really even find cover in any. Like all the arenas are like a little box.
Whenever
sometimes
they do have levels, cover. They do have cover, but it can explode in front of you, so it's pretty stupid
it's kind of and the enemies move really fast too. So I found that taking cover was never really a good idea. You're better off just kind of running around. And but yeah, it was fun to play and looked incredible. And that can get you pretty far, even if you're not a game that has what I would call like spectacular gameplay, like a lot of depth or really intense challenge that's well thought out. Like Metroid Dread is what I'd give as an example of a game where the combat in that game gives you all the tools you need to exceed, but it doesn't hand you victory ever. The simplest enemy can be a huge problem if you're not really paying attention or understanding the mechanics in that game. If you don't understand the mechanics in Guardians of the Galaxy, you can still probably do all right. Or like throw it down to easy mode and you'll be fine.
No, you can button mash your way through Guardians of the Galaxy, just you wouldn't be efficient with it. Like there are combos with your teammates that clear rooms of enemies easily.
Yeah. You can be a lot faster. Things like having Groot tie everyone down with like roots and then having Rocket throw a grenade at them. Like that's simple combos like that are definitely possible. But what I mean is like it doesn't necessarily succeed on the gameplay depth level of something like Metroid or Elden Ring probably will, or something like Doom Eternal, where you really got to be thinking about everything you're doing on the higher difficulty levels. Guardians of the Galaxy, you can kind of just kick back and enjoy the game. And not to say that difficult games aren't fun, because I mean, what's the name of this podcast? Like clearly we're a fan of difficult games over here, but this is the kind of game that when people say, oh, I don't want to play a game like Bloodborne because I just want to come home after a long shift at work and kick back and relax and have fun playing a game. Like, don't ask for easy modes in Bloodborne. Just play Guardians of the Galaxy, because this is the game for that. It's really, really good as just a kind of fun spacefaring adventure thrill ride, like an MCU movie, really. Like an MCU movie, aside from maybe Civil War, probably shouldn't win
the
any
original MCU movies, like Phase 1 and 2, maybe.
Oh, wait, hold on. There's a fourth phase.
Well, like there was a third phase too, but
the third one was okay too. The third one had Infinity War and everything.
No, but that's where it started getting crazy and like thought provoking, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. But man, Phase 4. So did you see the Spider-Man trailer?
Yeah, I shouldn't have. I told myself I wasn't going to, but then I did. I gotta stop watching trailers in general. Like I
mean,
really do hate them.
I really wanted to see, hey, is it going to recover the things that upset me about the initial trailer, which was just the absolute assassination of Doctor Strange?
No, it made him worse.
Made it worse.
Made him worse.
You guys actually had Doctor Strange saying, hey, Peter, like, remember when we ripped apart time when you botched that spell? Like, it's now, and then, like, he just tells them to Scooby-Doo it? He's like, oh yeah, like, reality is being ripped apart. You three teenagers.
Scooby-Doo this crap.
Excuse me, do you realize that you're the Sorcerer Supreme? Has anyone told you this, Stephen Strange?
Giles from Buffy the Vampire Slayer is a better leader than Doctor Strange at this point.
Yeah.
Like, he is a better British leader of teenagers. He's just like, he gave them the tools, but then showed them how to use it. And it's just like, no, we have to do this as a team. I just have no physical abilities.
Though. Benedict Cumberbatch is British, but Doctor Strange is actually American. Though it's easy to make that mistake. He is Sherlock as well.
Speaking of the differences between Marvel and the MCU and this Guardians of the Galaxy, there was quite a few. Obviously, Star-Lord's whole backstory is totally different. Blonde hair.
Maybe we should put up our spoiler tag. Should we? Because now we're going to start going into story.
Yeah. Spoiler warning is in effect at this moment on.
Okay.
Because there's no way
for
to
both
talk
the
about
films and the game.
Oh man, if you haven't watched the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, like 1 and 2, like,
I'm just saying, if you maybe thought, hey, what's up with these Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yeah, that's a good point. Spoiler warning still in effect.
I'm going to make the case for Volume 2.
So we got Star-Lord first off. His backstory is pretty much completely different. Obviously, Ego's not involved anymore. His mother passes away because of a Chitauri invasion.
Yeah. That was a really big change from the movie version.
Yeah, well, blonde hair. He kind of looks more like Zach Morris than Christopher Pratt. Yeah, he acts more like Zach Morris too, which is pretty funny.
I thought what was kind of funny is his voice really sounds like Dermot from Venture Brothers. Like, he's got that kind of like stoner Hesher inflection where he's like, well, guys, like, maybe we should just go over here and do this then.
That's
and
it
was kind of bothering me at first, but I think it becomes charming because this game is actually quite well written. Like, most characters are very well done for the most part. And aside from Rocket, Drax and Groot were pretty much beat for beat who they are in the MCU. Like,
I disagree with Drax.
Really?
I feel
they even pulled a couple lines from the MCU, which I think actually was a Thor line. Did you hear it?
That's a made-up word.
What was made up?
But that's more because they tried to make Thor the comedic relief too. Mm-hmm. But I find like his literary terms in this one is much better done than it is in the MCU.
Much less over the top. His literal interpretations,
and not as like the delivery is not so comedic. Whereas where it's actually it's still funny, but he's not trying to be funny. Where I feel
he's more
Batista's trying to be funny.
They're playing it straight, whereas it's pretty clear in the Guardians movies that Dave Bautista is playing it as a comedic role.
Exactly.
But, whoever the actor is that's playing Drax in this is
it's just better written.
Going a bit more straight. And you're right. I think it's probably just the writing. But especially, well, Groot just says I'm Groot. Shocking, it's the same. But Rocket, I find, sounds almost exactly like it could have been Bradley Cooper voicing him for all I know. Like, I actually probably should have paid attention to who was doing the voices, but Star-Lord doesn't sound anything like Chris Pratt, and
Gamora is
pretty
way better.
Yeah.
I like her in this game rather than the MCU. I like their whole dynamic more in this than in the MCU as well. Like, they took out the romantic interest between Star-Lord and Gamora, which they might be doing that in the MCU. We'll see with what happens with Guardians of the Galaxy 3, because it's technically a new Gamora. But this Gamora is clearly more on the assassin side of things, and she's trying to repent for all the bad things she's done. she feels bad for all the things she's done. Drax and other people like condemn her for the things she's done.
Yeah.
And like
the tension between her and Drax is actually really cool. I thought that was a neat thing, and then seeing it resolve over the course of the game is pretty satisfying too.
And that's it. Like, again, like their whole dynamic as a team is much better. We also discussed that like maybe it's better that they didn't do a backstory on all of them. You kind of just get dropped into their story as a team, but like they reference things that's happened to them in the past. And the problem I have with this is you don't know what you're supposed to remember from the MCU version, because there's pieces missing in the game version that you feel like you can just supplement with the MCU version, but you don't know if that's true.
But there's so much dissonance between those two, and neither of us really have any experience with the Guardians of the Galaxy comics. I've never read a single Guardians comic. I couldn't tell you anything about the source material. So if anyone's in the comments right now saying, "Well, if you guys read the comic, you would know." Yeah, we didn't. That's so. But at the same time, we did play this video game and we did see the movies, and the thing about adaptations is successful ones should be clear to people who have not read the source material or viewed the source material. If it's like a game based on a movie, for example, like they shouldn't say, "Oh, well, if you want to know the story for the game, you got to watch the movie." It's like, well, but like that's where Final Fantasy 15 went wrong too. huge
spoiler warning. I didn't know this, that the final boss was like an actual character in the comics. I had to go back and find that out. I was like, wow. Magnus.
Well, that I did know, because I am aware of that character, because he kind of plays into the Infinity Saga in the books.
Exactly.
But Adam Warlock plays a pretty big part in this game, and he's actually already been cast in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And they kind of reference him at the end of
Guardians of the Galaxy 2, yeah.
More capable of destroying the Guardians of the Galaxy. I think I shall call him Adam.
And I like the actor who plays him. It's the guy from the one with Jennifer Aniston and Jason Sudeikis. The "you guys are getting paid" thing, like that guy. But he was also in that the Black Mirror interactive one, where Bandersnatch, I think it's called, or something like that.
Oh, really?
The Netflix.
Yeah, Bandersnatch is.
Yeah. He was the guy who like kills himself in it, like the game developer.
Yeah.
That's the dude that's playing Adam Warlock. And it was actually that role that I was like, oh shit, not only is this guy English and not American, but he's not just goofy comedy guy. Like, he's actually pretty good dramatic actor. Like, holy hell. But so Adam Warlock's role in it was pretty cool. The story revolves almost entirely around this entity that essentially gives people what they've always wanted, but in the form of like visions. And they're really just become slaves to this like hive mind entity. And the story was kind of that Adam Warlock was the original host, and because he was powerful enough, he was able to separate himself from it and then trap it in the Soul Stone. So like the Infinity Stone, the Soul Stone is in this game, and Rocket and Star-Lord find the Soul Stone and just kind of drop it, and then it releases this entity that then starts basically taking over the entire galaxy, including this Kree girl who it's kind of implied for a good chunk of the story that is Peter Quill's daughter that he had with this Nova Corps officer. So there's some cool kind of like family drama happening there, and you see Peter Quill kind of like struggling with the possibility that he might have an illegitimate daughter that's like 12 and possessed by this basically space demon. So that there's some stuff going on in this movie. In this game.
It's a really well done like story. I feel like it kind of lags on at some points, like just to make it longer, just for the sake of it. But it is what it is. Like you wanted people to get their money's worth, which first I feel like you do get your money's worth with this game and the story and everything in between.
It took me about 18 hours to finish it on normal mode, first playthrough. So I think even if a full price game isn't what you think would be worthwhile for a game like this, honestly, I think when it's down to like $40, like go for it. Like I think if you want another Guardians of the Galaxy movie that you can play,
Yeah.
This is pretty much the best one you're gonna get for at least a few years. And even though the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie isn't as good as Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, I would say that this is definitely the best Marvel game that's come out for quite some time. It's like between this and Sony's Spider-Man. And I guess the gameplay in Spider-Man's probably more fun, but I think a big part of that is swinging around the city.
Exactly. It gets way too repetitive because I've been trying to platinum that game for a while, and every time I boot it up, I'm like, yeah, it's just the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, like swinging around the city is really fun though, and Guardians doesn't really have anything like that. The Milano spaceflight combat is very sparse. And it's pretty bare bones. The first sequence, it almost feels like you're not even doing anything either. Like it's almost like a Star Fox type thing where you're just flying straight and need to avoid some stuff. There is some more kind of intense fighter pilot things that happen a little later on that I think are handled well enough, but it's not going to compete with swinging around the city of Spider-Man. And yeah, I can't even think of another Marvel game that's even in contention. Definitely not Avengers, and
we'll see.
All the rest of the Marvel games that have come out have been I guess the Ultimate Alliance 3, but I don't know.
It's not
Ultimate
really,
Alliance is just, it's kind of like, it's Diablo, but not as good, and there's Marvel characters. But
we'll see with Wolverine what happens.
Yes. And I think that it does a really good job of doing what I think is the strength of the James Gunn Guardians movies, which is balancing comedic tone and the fun swashbuckling space adventure like Star Wars but more lighthearted with some genuinely heartwarming character stuff. And this does this well, and it's that, I know I've been kind of baiting this for a while, it's that element that makes me think Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is a better movie than the first one, because the characters are all set up in the original movie, but there's actual arcs and things that happen in the second movie that really pay off huge. In particular, I kind of referenced the stuff between Nebula and Gamora is hardly anything other than we're arch enemies in the first movie. And in the second one, it actually gets into the fact that Gamora always thought of it as they were in competition, and Nebula was just like, no, I just wanted you to like me.
I don't need you always trying to beat me.
I'm not the one that just flew across the universe just because I wanted to win.
Do not tell me what I want.
I don't need to tell you what you want. It's obvious.
You were the one who wanted to win, and I just wanted a sister.
You were the one that always thought we were in competition with each other, but I felt like I always had to be able to beat you because it was the only time that you would show me any respect. That stuff was cool. The stuff with not only Yondu's death, which is why I said spoiler alert for Guardians of the Galaxy, but the stuff between Yondu and Rocket is amazing. There's a scene kind of towards the second third of the movie, the end of it, where Rocket basically says Yondu, you don't know me. And then he's like,
I know everything about you. I know you play like you're the meanest and the hardest, but actually you're the most scared of all.
Shut up!
I know you steal batteries you don't need, and you push away anyone who's willing to put up with you, because just a little bit of love reminds you how big and empty that hole inside you actually is.
I said shut up!
I know them scientists what made you never gave a rat's ass about you.
I'm serious, dude!
Just like my own damn parents who sold me, their own little baby, into slavery. I know who you are, boy, because you're me.
Man, this is good stuff.
Yeah,
and then
good.
Yondu's death is it's competing with Tony Stark, but it's amongst the best MCU deaths. And I think as far as tertiary characters that could die in any movie, it's the only one that matters at all.
Yeah.
Because the other ones are Quicksilver, who cared because they killed him way too quick and didn't really develop him enough. Let's see, who else? Vision, I guess. Vision's kind of a secondary character.
Peggy Carter,
yeah, but
doesn't really she didn't really do anything, but
and she died of old age.
Yeah, but still, she died.
But her death was more sad for Steve than it was for her.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like, oh man, this is a sad heroic death. It's like, no, she lived a life. It's fine.
Technically, I don't understand how it works with Groot, but Groot dies at the first Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, he comes back at the end. Like he's the Groot sproutling at the end.
But is it the same Groot? Like,
I don't know. Like he definitely his intelligence is much more childlike and baby Groot's really great. I'm not gonna say that that's the thing that makes Guardians 2 better than 1, but the whole opening sequence with like, I think it's like a T-Rex song that's playing, and it's like baby Groot kind of dancing around while they're fighting like an elder god. The background, and it's like this crazy action scene that's happening in the background of the frame, but it's just baby Groot dancing around in the foreground. I'm like, man, MCU used to be better. Like, that's all I could think of while I was watching this. I was like, this was often regarded as one of the bad MCU movies, and I was watching it last week and just like, I don't see it. I don't know how people thought this was bad. This is way better than anything I've seen from the MCU since like probably Infinity War. Like, I mean, I think it's weird to say Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is better than Endgame because Endgame's just got so much
Endgame has 10 years of payoffs,
Yeah, but it's also, like, I think
but on its own, it's not a strong story. Yeah,
I know, that's what I mean. It's like, I think there's way more interesting character beats happening in Guardians 2 than there is in Endgame. I know it's not really a one-to-one comparison, but, and again, like, without the Tony Stark, I Am Iron Man, snap death, like, I don't know. I think you pretty much easily say that that Yondu's death is the top one in the MCU. Yeah,
Loki.
No, not even close. Because Loki's back. This is the thing. Like, they don't stick the landing on any of their deaths. Yondu's probably not coming back.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I'm trying to think who else will never come back.
And man, like he's like giving Star-Lord the only flight suit or spacesuit when they're going into the thing, and then he's like, "What are you doing?" And then like he looks down at Ego. He's like,
"He may have been your father, boy, but he wasn't your daddy." I'm sorry I didn't do none of it right. I'm damn lucky you're my boy.
What?
I'm just like, oh man, don't cry. Don't cry.
It's my special boy.
Yes. And like the funeral thing that happens with the Ravagers doing like the fireworks display for him, even though they said they weren't going to. And also Sylvester Stallone, they set up a spin-off with Sylvester Stallone and Michelle Yeoh, who's all of a sudden now in Shang-Chi playing a totally different character. But I was like, holy shit, Michelle Yeoh's in this.
That's hilarious.
And I was like, I want to see her and Sylvester Stallone in a Guardians spin-off playing Ravagers. Like, what are you doing, Marvel?
Yeah. What if? What if?
Oh my God. But put me in charge of Nintendo and Disney for 6 months. Triple your profits. It's going to be totally different things I'm doing, though. With Nintendo, I'm just going to be like, you guys keep doing what you're doing. I'm just going to make all your stuff more available. That's it. Keep on pumping out the products. You're fine. With Marvel, I'm just going to be like, here, you got to stop making stuff for a good long time.
Yo, take like a 5-year break and just like get people to like want you to come back.
Make new shit is what you need to do.
Yeah,
just take a break from Marvel. Give some people time to want it a little bit more, and then come back strong when you have rock solid scripts.
They should have stopped with Endgame, not even make No Way Home, and then just like waited, and then do another story arc. Like that's it.
I don't know.
Anyways.
Well, I mean, they did another story arc. They made a Zack Snyder film with Eternals, apparently. I didn't see it though, so for all I know, Eternals is great. I did not see Eternals, so I'm not shit talking it. But Shang-Chi was at most mid, like mid to low. There was a couple good.
No, it's mid tier. It's mid tier.
That first 45 minutes are pretty good, but once they wind up in Chinese Wakanda, I was out. I was like, okay, we're in another fantasy land. Yeah, but I mean, that's what the whole movie is kind of geared towards, and like it's from when they finish up at the girls, the sisters, like underground fight club. Like from that scene forward, it's all just like super fantasy stuff that kind of just blends into the rest of the MCU as far as I'm concerned. It's like, okay, there's another superpowered demon god that's the fate of the universe at stake or fate of the world, and now we have our hero saving it with rings that all of a sudden, like, well, who even gives a shit what those rings can do? They can do, there's nothing that you could have those rings doing in Shang-Chi 2 that you'd be able to say, yeah, okay, I guess, like,
Yeah.
what can't these things do? He throws bracelets at the ground and flies, Fonz. He does a boost jump by throwing bracelets at the ground.
Okay,
Why can't we just have him on a TTC bus kicking the shit out of people? That was good. I liked that.
We gotta get out of here before Marc starts going all Alex Jones on people.
All right. Yeah, I am turning into Alex Jones. sorry, excuse me. But that being said, I do hope that Marvel casts X-Ray Girl as Marvel's Katie in Shang-Chi 2.
Go. Yeah, that's about it for us this week. And as always, it's not be good.
It's get good, scrubs.